Yeah, so joy, joy. Uh, it's sometimes known as rapture, which feels, wrapped attention and joy. Yeah, joy as the fourth factor of awakening. And of course, then, this is the final of the four energetic factors. There are energetic factors and calming factors. Yeah. On the first four are mindfulness, investigation, energy, and joy. And traditionally, they are expected to unfold linearly. Yeah. Mindfulness, we first become mindful, and that leads us to want to do more investigation. Investigation brings even more energy, and then it becomes joyful. Meditation becomes joyful. Yeah, meditation becomes joyful. Um, and the joy is mostly in the seven factors, is connected with the joy uh, that arises in meditation itself. With seeing things more clearly, with learning, oh, this is the path. We're starting to see clearly where this is going, how this is really a path of well-being, and et cetera, et cetera. And with as interest deepens, yeah, the mind wants to stay with the meditation, doesn't want to wander so much anymore, begins to settle a little bit more, and all of that, right? And what I have noticed, what we've noticed, is in the West, it doesn't seem quite so straightforward. It doesn't seem quite so straightforward. In fact, we can go for a long time in meditation without experiencing uh, too much joy. Yeah, a lot of it can be a grind. A lot of it can be just basic. The mind just thrashing around, just thrashing around. Um, and trying to figure things out and being attached to our thinking mode, trying to work with the practice in a cognitive manner and so forth, and dealing with a lot of hindrances. A lot of the afflictive emotions. A lot of restlessness, a lot of doubt, a lot of sloth and torpor, et cetera, et cetera. And it, this is partly why I would say it's a good part of why we introduce the holding environment early on in the practice to all of you, to bring forward something more uplifting, more joyful, more easeful, to bring it forward, because it will not necessarily for us naturally just arise, spontaneously arise, until meditation is pretty deep. For some of us, I can say this, for the first 20 years of meditation that I meditated, there was no joy in Mudville at all. It was all work. It was all work. Of course, a lot of that was because I was working in the wrong way. I was pushing too hard. I was trying too hard. But I'm not that uncharacteristic. Joy does not arise easily and quickly for most people. For most people, it's not that smooth, natural unfolding. Sometimes you read in the text, oh, that's lovely. Bing, 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 and I'll be experiencing joy and rapture. Well, maybe. But what we tend to emphasize is however we can, for two things. However we can, bringing it forward, bringing lightness, delight, joy, uh, ease of well-being. It's all connected. We see joy in a panoramic way. With many degrees of joy. Just simple ease. First of all, looking for the smaller moments of joy or uplift or delight. Sometimes they're very small moments. Yeah. And as Susan will say, we want to make much of those. Yeah. Sometimes it's a half a breath, and sometimes we just overlook it because we're looking for either waiting for something bigger to happen, that we fail to see, that this particular exhale, this one right here, that was lovely. Yeah. No, it's not there, but in the inhale, I'm already uptight again on the inhale, maybe, maybe it only maybe it only lasted half a breath, but it was there. It was there. Yeah. Whatever these smaller moments arise for us in our practice, we want to make note of those. Mm. Hopefully, gradually, they may increase. It may happen for one whole breath, not just a half a breath. All these practices unfold so gradually. Gradually, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. And so we're all about emphasizing two things: taking note of the smaller moments when they arise, of that good uplifted feeling, making much of those and lingering with those a little when they arise. Yeah, not clutching them, but lingering with them a little bit more when we can. There's a subtle dance there too between lingering with them and wanting to hold them. And holding on too tightly, we know that how that can happen. But lingering with them, and the other is inviting them, inviting them. So you often hear us, right? Even a simple guided meditation. Returning to the breath. What? You won't hear us say, just come back to the sensations of the breath, right? It's returning to the breath as if it were the breath of life. As if, even just for that moment when you return, you experience it as precious, not just cognitively, oh yeah, it's precious. No, the feeling of it being precious, the good feeling of it. Now that might not have been there if I didn't invite myself to return to the breath in that way, right? Well, so that sense usually we'll have 100 times in every half hour with the mind wandering away a bit, you know. But when it returns, can we, right? We've emphasized this. Can you return as if it's a joyous thing that we're returning to, as if it's a miraculous thing that we're returning to? Yeah, yeah. In other words, uh, we invite it, we invite it, we invite it until it becomes more so, until that becomes a little bit more normative, that we begin to change, literally change our relationship to the breath, until we begin to find it interesting. At first, it's not interesting. It's just not, right? Until it is. And it's not going to just happen spontaneously one day that the breath becomes interesting for us. Mostly, we have to create it to be so. We have to invite it to be so. We have to invite it to be so. Yeah? Yeah. And so softening isn't going to happen just all by itself until it happens all by itself. And until then, we have to create it to be a little softer, create it to be a little bit more easeful, a little bit more comfortable. All of that orienting toward joy, toward ease in that direction. Because, as you've heard us say, for the practice really to take root in us, really to take root, it does have to make sense why we're doing this, but it also has to feel good. We have to learn how to create it to feel good. We can't just look in there and say, hey, how come this? I want this to feel good. How come this isn't feeling good? And it's true. at some point in your practice, it will also begin to arise spontaneously. It begins to arise spontaneously when the settledness is more, when the ease is a little bit more, and when the afflictive emotions are just not so predominant. Just when they're not so predominant, there is a natural kind of uprising of joy that starts to show up, like, oh my goodness, I'm not having to spend all of my energy keeping keeping some of these rough energies at bay, which is a lot of where our energy is going, you know? Because the mind is just beginning to settle a little bit more. Oh, it actually wants to stay present. It's a nice place to be now. And as so as the practice deepens, that too will happen. But until that happens, for all of us, we want to continue to invite it to be so, even if for a moment, even if for a breath, returning as if it were so, as if it were quite amazing. You hear us say this, to be here at all, to be here in a body breathing, to be reminded of the miracle and the feeling of that just for a moment, the good feeling of that. Yeah? Yeah. So a couple angles in on joy, appreciating the smaller increments of it and practicing more as a new habit to invite it, to invite ease, delight, joy more into your practice. Okay? So thank you, and let's practice some of this together now in our meditation. Okay? Yeah. So let's open up. Let's open up. And just a quick reminder to many of you may know this already, but that again we'll be doing the New Year's Eve from 9 to 12 this year through the BCBS link. So we'll hope to be seeing some of you there. Okay. All right. Slowing it down and lightly closing the eyes. Maybe expanding the breath a bit more, if that's supportive. Bringing caring attention to it, to the breathing. And again, not just as an object that we're attending to. The more we invite this to be a really intimate process with something very amazing, the capacity to actually tune in with more care and interest. to this amazing breath. And orienting toward settling. And each time you notice that the mind has drifted, moved into some kind of cognitive drift. Being willing to return into the breath as if it were precious and dear. inviting a bit more softening. Can you breathe with a little more ease? After all, the breath is already moving all on its own.